Welcome to today's Lunchtime Learn, which is an introduction to Belbin. So I don't know if any of you have heard of Belbin before, used it before within a team environment, or maybe it's brand new to you. But either way, we're going to give you an introduction to it. Before I go into that, I'm going to hand to Chris, who's just going to talk a little bit more about MyPeopleClub and what our members enjoy.
Yep, I'll whiz through this in a very, very short amount of time so we can crack on. We're MyPeopleClub. James and I co-own it, and it's basically an online membership for HR professionals, coaches and trainers. Inside the club, you can find loads and loads of different things. So the three main resource areas, which are HR coaching and training, so loads of template documents, letters, trackers. In the coaching bit, you've got loads of different coaching models, coaching forms, how to become a better coaching. We do also do quite a lot of management and leadership stuff, so how to become a better manager, how to move into leadership, and there's loads of different exercises. And if you look at some of the Lunchtime Learns, actually we've delved into some of that stuff that's all within the coaching section of the platform. And then finally, we've got a training section as well, so loads of things like icebreakers, case studies you can do in group work, loads of slide packs and other useful training stuff. In addition, on the platform, you get access to our masterclasses. So we've got a whole suite of masterclasses that we bring to you each month. So they're released on the first of the month, and then halfway through the month, we do a Q&A session with that same expert so that you can get involved, you can ask further questions. And these are really great people. So we've got like people who sit on boards of mental health. We've got loads of different employee psychometric people involved. Health and safety, first, loads and loads of really good experts. We also got a mentoring scheme, so if you're up and coming in HR and you need someone and spend an hour with a sort of more senior person to go through stuff, you can do that. And if you're a more senior person, you can sign up to be a mentor, and there's a reward scheme for that as well. Very quickly, we've also got a business directory and a member discount. So again, one of the things I wanted to do when we set up MyPeopleClub was make it a bit of a one-stop shop, so you had everything you needed within the platform. So I know as a HR director that, we didn't just look after HR, we looked after first aid and health and safety, loads of other stuff. And people would come to HR and say, oh, I need a consultant for this or whatever. So what we've tried to do is get some business partners so that when you need somebody, you can check out the directory and see what you need is in there, and we'll just grow and grow and grow that. And we also have partner businesses that offer discounts. So if you are like me and you enjoy a bit of food and a drink, you can actually eat out at one of our partners. So The Botanist is one of our partners, which is a really nice bar restaurant. And you can actually make your membership money back by using the discounts that we have.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris. And if you stick around just at the end for the last few minutes, once I've gone through the main part of today's Lunchtime Learn, we'll talk to you a bit more about how you can become a member, and we'll tell you about a special promotion that we're doing this week where you can win a month's free membership. But all that to come after we talk about Belbin. So what's the outline of today's session? Three things. I'm going to talk a bit more about Belbin, its purpose, what it focuses on, and I will introduce you to the 9 roles. And then we'll talk about how do you apply those insights into a team environment? What do you do? What does it mean when you've got that knowledge about the individuals in a team and everyone? How do you apply it? What merit does it add? What does it enable you to do? I think it's pretty clear to everyone, when you've got a team of people, it's not just about their job titles, but it is about them as individuals. They all have a role. And what's important is that their role is understood by all the other members. And it's not just their role that they perform according to their job description or according to something that describes the team in terms of its function, its outputs and its deliverables, but it's actually beneath the surface. It's what do they bring to the team? What's their speciality? Where are they particularly strong? Where are they not so strong? And actually, where are their team-based roles that they probably shouldn't do? Is actually their weakness. And it would be a mistake to give someone a responsibility in a team that isn't their strength. And we'll explore those as we go through those roles. So what is the purpose and focus of Belbin? Essentially, as a model and as a tool, it's to identify people's behavioural strengths and weaknesses. And it gives you a language that you can use across your team and wider across the organisation, such that the members of the team can talk to each other in a way that isn't confrontational, but is actually productive. And you'll be able to call out where someone is really good at a certain role. So for an example, one of the roles is about being a completer finisher. Some people have that natural skill to dot the I's, cross the T's, see all the detail in presentations, in documents, in whatever it might be. That's their natural strength. And rather than us sometimes critique people and say, oh God, you're so pedantic, you're such a critic. If we say to someone, actually, your completer finisher skills are beyond the scale, they're through the roof, they're fantastic, you're the kind of person I need to check my work before it goes out elsewhere to make sure that I've not made any mistakes, that's a much better use of that language. That's a much better way of helping people embrace their strengths and embrace their skills and recognize where a skill just isn't your own. It's just not something that you're naturally warm to, that you're naturally good at. Now, all of this leads to a greater self-understanding. The same with a lot of the other psychometric and behavioral tools that we've gone through some of the previous Lunchtime Learn, such as NLP and Tetramap, and some that we'll continue to cover. They all help you get a better self-understanding. And that's good for you to be able to communicate more about yourself with your colleagues and also with your managers as well. And of course, why have something that talks around team roles and to result in having great teams? So it means when you've got that understanding of how well your team performs, where the strengths are, or maybe where there's areas of weakness, then it can help you when you think about, where do you put those strengths? Where are there areas that you need to recruit into? Where are there areas maybe you need to look at personal development plans? And you're one team within the wider workplace. And if you can understand your place, your strengths, and how you can be even better in that workplace, then that's a great thing to have. I've talked around the fact that it provides a common language that everyone can use, so that you've got that appreciation of each other, of their roles to play, but what does it result in? What's the purpose of it? Why do we have these roles? What it means is that you know the team's strengths against these different areas. And they're all important areas to have as a team. You've got to have leadership. You've got to have the ability to network, to bring people in, to glue people together, whether that's in the team or when it's collaborating with other teams. A team needs creativity. It needs to think of better ways to do what it does, new ways to embrace other areas of the business, new ways to add more value to shareholders and stakeholders and customers. Team building is important. You can't sit and rely on the fact that even if you have a well-performing team and everyone gets on, that it will stay that way. Circumstances change, cultures change. Just take the last 4 or 5 months we've been working through, that's heavily changed the dynamics of teams where they were perhaps all once in an office and now they're all working remotely. Team building has become even more important. The ability to analyze what you do, analyze what everyone is working on, the ability to get on and do it, to look in the detail, again, are important aspects of teamwork. And so is increasing the knowledge, bringing in new insight, bringing in new data and understanding into the team to help them grow and to help the individuals within the team grow. So let's look at the 9 team roles. And as I explained, just as I introduced it, we had originally talked around 8, but for this Lunchtime Learn, I've included that 9th specialist role. So here are the 9 roles on the left and how they relate to those different team aspects that I've just talked around, from leadership through to knowledge. So the 9 roles are coordinator, shaper, resource investigator, plant, team worker, monitor evaluator, implementer, completer finisher, and specialist, and how they relate to each of those aspects. But let's look at them in a bit more detail. So the coordinator, this is the person you need to focus on what's going on, focus on the overall objectives of the team. They're very planful and they really think about how all the work that everyone needs to do can be delegated appropriately. And some of the positive qualities they have is that they're very confident. They're good at having an eye on the overall goals of the team, but also people's individual goals. So it might quite often be that the person that plays a coordinator role in a team is actually the manager, or it might be one of the sub-managers, or someone that coordinates work across everyone. Typically, a team of, say, some project managers or change managers often have someone who acts as an independent coordinator because they know all of the work coming in, they know everyone's strengths, they know everyone's workloads and capacities, and they can kind of divvy in new work accordingly. Now, it can be to other people, if they don't understand why a coordinator is good at what they do, then it can be seen that they're being quite manipulative. And it can be that it appears that they're offloading their own share of work, but they're not. They're just performing a very specific team role. And part of their role, part of their workload is about delegating, about organizing, about managing things. Now, you wouldn't be surprised to find or to experience, if you're in a team with someone who's got a strong coordinator role, that they over delegate. And sometimes as a result of having spent time delegating all the work around that, then there's not a lot left for them to do. And so it's not their natural strength necessarily, excuse me, to pick up new work, because all the work will have gone. So often it needs someone else within the team, perhaps the roles which are more around creativity and bringing in more knowledge, to think about what else can a coordinator do once they've done their thing, once they've been organized and structured, what else can they work on? And that might be for the benefit of the team, it might be for the benefit of themselves. But that's the coordinator. The shaper is the person that keeps things moving. They love challenging times. So at the beginning perhaps of lockdown, as we went through that, the shaper would have been in their element, thinking about what can we do? What does this mean? What are the possibilities? What does this change? How does this create the opportunity for us to do something different as a team, to do something different as a business? And they have that drive. They don't want to lose that focus or momentum. So as I said, in challenging times, they thrive on that pressure. When obstacles come up day to day, or big meaty obstacles, they really want to break through them. They want to overcome them. They're the people that you present those obstacles to. You don't give it to someone who doesn't have these strengths. Now, sometimes because they're so in the moment, they're so much thinking about what they can do, thinking about possibilities, they're not so good at stopping and thinking, how am I saying what I'm saying? Am I saying it in a way that might provoke people, might offend people's feelings? They're not so good at that bit, at stepping back and thinking about personalities and behaviors, because they're lost in that creativity and that challenge. So again, it wouldn't be surprising to find that they can become a bit aggressive sometimes in their attempt to get things done. They want to see things happen. They want to keep that momentum going, overcome those obstacles and start seeing them through to fruition. Not necessarily through to the end detail and to the completion, because we have other people in the team who are great at that, but they can become quite forceful because they really believe in what they've produced. They believe in the change they can create, the momentum they've created, and that can be quite overbearing at times. So that's the shaper. The resource investigator is very inquisitive. They love going out there and bringing in new ideas back to the team. They also will bring in possibilities of bringing in new people. And that's not necessarily to grow the team in its formal number, but it could be to bring in people who can collaborate, who can share ideas, who can share expertise. So if the team has identified there's certain areas of weakness from a skill set perspective, maybe a knowledge perspective, maybe there's another area of the business or another area of the industry or the sector that there isn't so much awareness of, this person will go away and find that knowledge. They'll find the right people who can come in and share the knowledge. So they're a great way of increasing the team's capability through bringing in external people, external knowledge and ideas. Now, to do that, naturally, they need to be very outgoing, very enthusiastic. They're great at developing those contexts. So they have those great skills at engaging people, at focusing on those relationships in comparison to the shaper that we just talked around. Now, one of their weaknesses is that they can be very over-optimistic. They have that belief that they will go and find the right people. They will find that knowledge. And that's what drives them forward. Now, once that beginning bit has started, maybe the excitement's gone, or maybe they don't find the people they need. They don't find that knowledge easily. The enthusiasm can wane a bit. It can go down a bit. So they need that new energy. They need that new thing to go and look for, or the people to look for. Now, interestingly, sometimes they can forget to follow up when they've made a good lead. They're so focused and interested in getting the new knowledge, getting the new people, and pursuing that newness that sometimes those longer relationships aren't their speciality. And so they might start a conversation, move on to another one, and forget to finish the first one and see it through. So sometimes you need someone to pick that up and carry that forward and carry on those ongoing relationships with people. The next role we've got is the plant. So sometimes confused with the shaper. And the shaper, as we said, is someone that likes to overcome the challenges. The plant is the person that's very creative and thinks through problems, has a wide range of experience, thinks very laterally about things, and likes to kind of hide away in the corner, be left alone to be creative, to really think about ideas and not be held back by other people, by this is the way we do things around here. They just kind of want to go for it and think of every possibility before they then share it and let the ideas be narrowed down. Now, again, a bit like the shaper, communication perhaps isn't their strong point. They are so focused on idea generation, so focused on overcoming really difficult problems, they don't think so much about how they communicate with other people. So they need to work with other people when they come to present their ideas, present the opportunities for the team. They need someone to help them communicate it in a way that works for everyone. So they can be a bit absent-minded, they can be a bit forgetful, they're so focused on what they're doing. They're not the planful people in the team. We've already met the planful person. Now, the team worker, this is the person that helps bring and keep the team together. Now, the resource investigator is good, as we said, about bringing new things in. The team worker is the person that makes sure that the team works properly, it gels properly. They're very good at picking up when there might be friction. They can predict the friction and think about what they can do to make sure it doesn't become a problem. They're very diplomatic, very cooperative. They know everything about everyone, and they will pick up on behaviors, personalities. They'll probably want to spend that little bit longer getting to know people, so they know what motivates people at work, what things they do outside of work that they enjoy. And they'll always play to that. They're the people, when you think about other personality and behavioral tools, they're the one that are always very emotionally driven, good at connecting with other people, good at walking into a room and just getting a sense of what's going on and whether it's a good vibe or a bad vibe. Now, it does mean in situations where there's confrontation, in situations where a decision needs making quite quickly, they're not the best at making that decision there and then. They often want to involve other people. They want to reflect. They want to say, well, actually, what does everyone in the team think about this? We should probably go out and talk to everyone. That takes time, and invariably it means you get a lot of different opinions, which makes it even harder to make a decision. So if there's that big hairy decision to make, the big risk to take to move the team forward, to get something done, to just say no to something, team worker isn't the best person to put that decision with. And as it says there, don't be surprised to find they might be hesitant to make unpopular decisions. If they've got to make a decision, they'd probably want to make the one that's most popular with people and not fall out with others. Now, the monitor evaluator, this is a good person that will be involved in decision making. They will think about everything. They'll think strategically. They'll think about all the options, and they will make an accurate judgment call, an accurate decision on that. And they can be very impartial. So they won't get hung up on what different people think and what different people feel and what the impact might be on one person compared to another. They will think about the strategy. They'll think about the team goals, the team objectives, and make sure that any decisions that need making are true to those goals and objectives. They're not so inspirational. They won't be overly critical. They don't necessarily have that drive. They're in that moment. They're the great ones at evaluating everything and making a decision. Now, it does mean that whilst they're great at making a decision that's impartial, it will take some time, because a bit like the previous person we've seen will want to involve everyone in the discussion, the monitor evaluator will want to weigh up all the facts, weigh up all the knowledge before they make that impartial decision. We've then got the implementer. This is the person that basically gets stuff done. Very practical, very reliable. All those ideas that have been generated by some of those other people we've met, the implementer turns them into actions that need to be done. They're great at working alongside the other people we've talked around in terms of delegating it. So this person comes in to say, right, what do we do? How do we turn all this great stuff into actions? I'm not going to be the greatest one at delegating it, of playing to people's strengths. I've got other people in the team who can do that. Now, an implementer can be a bit inflexible because they like a way of doing things. They're the people often in the team that say, well, it works, so why change it? Or this is how we've always done it around here. So they're not going to be the quickest to respond to new ways of working or new possibilities. So they need to be sold in first before they then turn those ideas into those actions. So as it says here, they can be a bit slow to kind of give up their plans and to change how they work in favor of something that ultimately could be more positive and better. The completer finisher, this is the person that scrutinizes everything that I talked around at the start. They dot the I's, they cross the T's. They have a natural ability to pick up on discrepancies, pick up where squares in a presentation aren't the same size. The fonts are different sizes. They're different shades of blue. But they're the people, when you're as a team producing something that might be going elsewhere within the business, it might be going out to customers, it might be going out to the press, whatever it might be, if quality is of the utmost importance, you give it to the completer finisher. Let them look over it at the end. Now, again, they can be seen as being quite critical. They can be seen to worry too much. They're not great at delegating, but they are good at seeing all those differences. So often it's good to have a one-to-one relationship with the completer finisher to say, here's a piece of work, here's what I need you to do. Can you go away and look at it, red pen everything that needs changing and give it back to me, and let me make the changes, let me communicate it to a wider perspective. And as I said right at the beginning, someone that's a completer finisher can be called too much of a perfectionist, too critical, but actually it's just their skill set, it's what they're good at. And finally, we have the specialist, this 9th role. Now, this is a person that loves bringing in deep areas of knowledge, bringing in new stuff. They've got a natural ability to learn and find out more. It's what drives them, it's what motivates them. And often when you've got a team of experts, you'll find that a lot of them are those specialists. In a team of people who all perform the same role, so if we take that project management team as an example that I gave, then you wouldn't necessarily have a specialist in there. Whilst project management is a specialism, it's quite a wide skill set. And you won't necessarily have someone in there that will keep bringing in new ideas and new ways of working. But sometimes it can be good to bring that in if you need to freshen things up and circumstances change, customers change, priorities change. Now, they can tend to contribute on a very narrow front. They do focus on the technicalities and all those specialisms, that knowledge and skills. And again, they're not the best communicator. They love sharing all that knowledge that they've brought, but they can overload you with it. They won't stop to think and pause and check that you've understood it and that it's sunk in and that they've communicated it in a way that makes sense to you. So how do we apply them into a team environment? Well, essentially, Belbin is a questionnaire, like a lot of psychometrics and personality tools. It's a questionnaire that you fill in. It has 7 questions, and for each of them, you're given 10 points. And you've got to distribute your 10 points across all the possible answers. So there's an example here on the screen of one of the questions. There's 8 possible answers, and you distribute your 10 points accordingly. It might be that there's only one of those answers that feels very much like you, in which case you might put 10 points for it. There might be a couple that really stand out and you put 5 for each of them. But essentially, you distribute those points accordingly. And those questions effectively cover things like your contribution to the team, any shortcomings you see about yourself when it comes to teamwork, how you are when you're working in a specific kind of short-term project group, what gives you job satisfaction, and how you work under pressure. And your responses to those questions are then translated across the 9 team roles. And what does that allow you to do? Well, essentially, it allows you as an individual to understand what's your main role within the team in normal working conditions. Now, your normal role will be the primary role, as it's called in Belbin terminology. That's the one you're best at. Secondary role is a role that you're pretty good at performing should there be a lack of someone else holding that primary position. The tertiary role is basically a role you shouldn't go to. So if, let's say, for completer finisher, your score falls in the boundary of the tertiary area, don't ever do that. Don't be the person that's checking presentations. Don't be the person checking through emails before they go out to customers. It's not your skill set. You'll miss stuff. It's just not what you're good at. Now, the great thing is also it allows you to understand your role when you work under pressure, when you're in a stressful situation, when something has suddenly happened, where do you excel? And typically you'll have a primary score for that and everything else will be low. And the way it works is that there's a couple of questions within that whole questionnaire that relate to working under pressure. Now, of course, when you've done this, you've got an overall view of your team. Who holds each of those roles at a primary level, a secondary level, a tertiary level? Where are their gaps? Where do we have no one that actually is really strong at being a shaper or a completer finisher or a plant? And therefore, do we need to develop someone's skills? Do we need to recruit in? And it helps you think about your personal development plans as a team and your recruitment plans as a team. That is a whistle-stop tour as an introduction to Belbin, the 9 roles, why they're important and why they're important in business and within a team, and what they allow you to do. If you want to find out more, then within our membership, we do have more information about Belbin, and it's worth looking on the Belbin site as well. What I'm going to do is hand to Chris just to tell you a bit more about MyPeopleClub and becoming a member.
Just very quickly before we finish then, for anyone that's not seen it or heard it yet, we have got a free membership which launched last week, and we have got loads and loads of members, which is absolutely amazing. So yeah, check it out. It's all absolutely free, and it just gives you a flavour of what's on our full platform. So you've got access to one of the full masterclasses. Obviously, as a full member, I think there's about 8 or 9 in there now, and obviously that adds 2 every month. But you get to see one, so you get to see all the videos in that masterclass, the workbook, the quiz afterwards, and the Q&A session. So it's really, really good one as well. We've put one of our little favourites in there. There's also access to some of the resources and loads of other stuff. And just to let you know that if you go in there and you check it all out and you really love it, that actually we have got an offer running till the end of August. So at the end of August, the price will be going up. So if you are interested, now is the time to check us out on the full membership. And it's really good because, you know, there's no long-term contracts or anything like that. So you know, you can join up and use it for as long or as little as you want, and you're not tied into any big contracts.
And I think what I'll add in there is this week we've got a competition that runs out tomorrow. So if you do become a free member and you like what you see in the free membership, all we ask is that you send us a testimonial. All the information is on the website. You send us a testimonial to our support@mypeopleclub.com email address. You'll go into a competition that closes tomorrow midday, and we will give the winner, which we'll pull out of all the testimonials that we've received, will win a month's free membership. So you'll get access to absolutely everything for a month. So if you're interested in that, sign up as a free member, take a look, and then send us a testimonial.
And we also have a mini coaching course, which is online and you can buy now whether you're a member or not. So we do a lot of this stuff. So it'd be in the same sort of style as this, but in a lot more depth. There's a great big workbook to go with it. And it's all about mindset and focus and getting over challenges. So that could be in your personal life and your business life, but there's some great stuff in there that we've put in there for you. Finally, if you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at hello@mypeopleclub.com. You can get us on the website, and that is the link to join us today. And if you're not part of our social community, do get involved, especially in the Facebook group, because we have loads of stuff going on in there as well, and other types of resources and information. So you can join us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and in the new year, we'll also be releasing a podcast.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris. So thank you for joining. Thank you for listening, and look forward to hopefully seeing you at our next Lunchtime Learn, which will be in 2 weeks' time. So until then, have a great afternoon.